What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to share my secrets on how I'm able to maintain quality employees in my house painting business, and you can replicate my model as long as you follow this system to a T. So how do you first attract quality people? Now, we have to look at applicants and employees. These are just people. And if you want quality individuals to work for your home service business, whether you do painting, flooring, whatever it is, you have to think about what someone of high quality would value. I'm big on the value exchange. The value exchange is, what am I getting in return for giving you my time? So it all starts with empathy. So if you're a business owner, you should be thinking, would I work for me? Now, of course, we're going to be biased as business owners. Of course I would. I'm a great boss. But you might be ignorant to some things that are stopping the best A players from working for you. And I'll tell you what one of those things are. You treat payroll as if it's this thing that is inconvenient to you because you don't want to go through and set it all up the right way, right? So your ignorance is getting in the way of providing something that makes someone feel that they're working for a high quality company. I just got off of a coaching call with someone and he confided in me. He said, Tanner, I'm paying my guys through Cash App, through Venmo. I'm 1099ing them. And, I've always been a big proponent of doing things the right way, even if it costs you a little extra money or time, because it's like sowing seeds. And your business is like a garden. You want to be planting good seeds. Now, ignorance is obviously not an excuse to not figure out how to get this done. So I'm going to put it out there. Just sign up for Gusto. Gusto is a great platform and it makes self-service payroll easy for you as a small business owner. I'll drop the link somewhere in the bio. But the reason I like Gusto is very simple. It creates a great experience for the employee. Now, I want you to think of two scenarios. Scenario one is someone gets someone interested in working with them, and the onboarding is pretty much a text message that says, show up at this address in the morning. There's a lot of questions in the mind of that individual. Well, how am I going to get paid? How are we tracking hours? Am I going to get a pay stub? Now, scenario B is going to Gusto the night before, putting in their email and having Gusto send them an onboarding to get them onboarded properly in your company, which really entails getting their bank account information, helping them set up their tax deductions and all the important things to make sure that state and local taxes are being paid, right? This requires very little effort on your part, aside from just going to Gusto and signing up for an account. Okay, so very simple. Now you can use Gusto. There's a couple other services out there, ADP, I think Paychecks, right? But I like Gusto because it's easy, it's self-serve, and I've been using them in both of my businesses for years. So what I want to tell you is I want you to think about the value exchange and how people perceive your business when it comes to pay, and how you treat the value exchange. How much in high regard do you handle your side of the deal? Okay, someone gives you 40 hours of their week. Your job is to pay them. And sure, you might pay them with cash and you may pay them with 1099. But is that really kingdom business? Is that really serving your employees to the highest level? Probably not. And I'll tell you why. When I was younger, I think I was 17, 18 years old, and I was ready to get my first apartment. I'd worked for a restaurant business owner, and he didn't do everything by the book. He was a mom and pop style restaurant, and he did not give us pay stubs that included the hours in which that we worked. I was a server, so we made most of our money through tips, and the paychecks that he gave us were nowhere near how much it should have been. So he didn't really treat his side of the deal fairly. And as a server, we made enough money with tips that we didn't really, think too much of it. So we didn't flag it. But when it came time, listen to me, when it came time for me to get an apartment, the question that was asked was, can you provide 3 months of pay stubs? And I remember thinking, I think I have to go ask my boss. And I went to the business owner and I said, hey, I need 3 months of pay stubs. And he couldn't provide them for me. Now, what the feeling that I had is that, I felt like I'm working for someone who doesn't value me, because I can't fulfill my goals because he didn't do his side of the deal. Okay. So for me, I remember what that feeling felt like. And I think what winds up happening is in this industry of home service is the vast majority of business owners do not do things by the book. So the expectations are already low, which is a benefit to you. And I teach a lot about this on both sides, is that the expectation is low on both sides. It's low on the sales and the production side, but it's also low on the administrative side as well. This is a leverage point for you. When you have an applicant or you're putting out an ad, you can highlight what other people are overlooking and not valuing as a value add. So in other words, everyone else does 1099 and Cash App and Venmo. But you, on the other hand, you highlight that we have a payroll service, a payroll system. You get a pay stub every week, okay? I mean, Gusto's great. They can put money in savings. They can, you can add benefits at some point. So this is a no-brainer, but I'm just highlighting to you the perspective of the employee, because I know for a fact if I was in a position where I needed to work for a painting company and the painting company owner told me that they don't have pay stubs, but they just Venmo and Cash App and pay me with a check and 1099 me, I'm not working there, because the business owner is thinking about their own best interests, or they're ignorant and they're not willing to do the work to get it set up properly. That means that they don't value me, straight up. So you have two situations here. You have a good employee, but a business owner that built his business on sand instead of rock. Okay. Build your business on rock. You are a leader. You got to set it up the right way. So your people, the people in your kingdom, okay, are well taken care of. You have to look out for people beyond, the basics, because they might not value getting an apartment or getting a vehicle or whatever the things are that they're going to need right now. But you got to see to it that, through working for you, they may be able to have that opportunity. And it's your job to make sure when they get to that point, they have the necessary documentation to be able to get that loan to move up in life. Okay. And this is the unique position we're in as home service business owners. Okay. Very important. So part one of this is, if you want quality people, you've got to create provision around your side of the value exchange. Okay. Once again, value exchange is this: you trade your time for my money, and you need to make sure your side is quality with the expectation that they're going to make sure their side is quality. Okay. So that's part one, is making sure you got that system figured out. Paying on time is no question about it. If you're doing Cash App, Venmo, 1099, here's another scenario. You're thinking, well, I've paid my guys like this for years. I can't transfer them over because it'll mean that they're going to make less money. Well, are they not doing their taxes at the end of the year? I mean, ultimately speaking, they can't write off things because they're not a business. So at the end of the year, they're going to get hit with a tax bill because you've 1099 them 50 grand, and they're going to get hit with a $10,000 tax. Maybe that's happened to you. The reality of the situation is, you need to establish the standard now. If you haven't done it before, you need to say, listen, this is how we're doing it. Here's why. I even challenge you to maybe give a raise and say, look, I'm going to give you a raise, $2, dollar, to make up for the fact that you're going to be taking less home on a weekly basis. Okay. However, at the end of the year, you're going to get a return and you're going to be able to do X, Y, Z. So there's a component of being a financial advisor as a business owner. Trust me, this is the best play. You need to build your business with the right provisions. The second one, insurance. Okay. Workers' comp is not an option. All right. Even if it's not required in your state. And I'll tell you firsthand, I had someone that broke both of their ankles on a project. Okay. I think the medical bills came out to somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000. Now, there's two things that I want you to know. Number one, insurance is for when you need it. It is what it is. What do they say? Chalk it to the game, right? Charge it to the game. It's one of those things. Second thing is, tell you what, the guy was happy we had insurance. All right. So, at the end of the day, it's your job to create an environment where you did your part as the business owner to make sure all the necessary provisions are in place. Okay. For someone of high quality to be interested in working for you, and not only just interested in working for you, staying with you, because the grass isn't greener. I mean, you could pay less and still have the provisions in place, and someone will say, well, yeah, another guy's offering me a few more dollars per hour, but they're paying me cash. They're paying me 1099. Okay. This isn't how we want to do business. We want to do it the right way. Now, what I want to tell you about is this. If you want high quality individuals in your home service business, if you're looking to hire employees and hire culture, okay, what you need to do is understand this. There's a process in place. It's a filtering out process. What winds up happening in this industry is the fact that you'll get people to work for you. And if you think, man, no one's good, there's not any good help, they're all lazy, I can't find good workers, I can tie that directly back to the system in which you use to find them, vet them, and hire them. And one of the problems is that you have too loose of a recruiting process. Now, I've been doing this for years, and I've also coached hundreds of business owners. And I'll tell you the number one reason why they can't get consistent results when it comes to finding quality help. And it's very simple. They don't have a system that produces quality help. And that system has to be installed in your business. You need to know how to turn it on. You need to know what to look for, and you need to know how to turn it off when you don't need help. However, I will tell you this. The system is very simple. Number one, you need to tell the world that you're hiring. If people don't know you're hiring, they can't seek you. Now, this is very important. You might say, well, duh. Well, actually, not duh, because we want people that are looking for jobs to find us. We don't want to randomly bump into someone. We don't want, a word of mouth referral for a applicant or a painter or an installer. We want someone that made it up in their mind that they want to work for this company. Now, I've done this for a long time. 9 times out of 10, anyone that gets handed the job doesn't value it in the same way someone that had to earn it. Okay. This is very important. And you might overlook this. So I'm hitting it hard. You got to understand that if you create friction and you look and see how people find you, that matters. So if someone is going on Indeed to look for the job, that means that they've already made it up in their mind that they're ready for a new opportunity. Now, that's just layer one. So having the ad on Indeed, writing out exactly what you want. And that Indeed and description needs to be character-based 70%, skill-based 30%, okay, for any role in home service, okay? But the reality is that what we're looking for is for someone to look at that ad and go, okay, that's not me. I will never get to that standard. I'm not even going to apply. And you might think that's a little harsh, but at the end of the day, the reality is your job as a home service business owner is to sell a product. You are not selling painting. You are not selling installing. You're not selling repairing. You are selling the individuals that actually perform that work. And again, with over 750 5-star reviews, I would say 90% of them are not about the quality of the job. It's about the quality of the team that performed the job. Even in my own experience, I had some epoxy done. The epoxy is great, but I have such a good feeling about the experience I had with the guys that were sent here to do it. And that is lasting. And you want to make sure who you send to the houses are quality individuals, okay? So once we've set up our provisions, in other words, when we get the quality individual, they're going to be impressed by our onboarding process. Now we have to get the ad out for them, and we create a good ad that has character-based content that filters out individuals that will never meet that standard, okay? We are not a character creation company, okay? We might help you build more character, but we're not going to give you the foundation of character. That's something you should have already been working on before you got to us. And one of the things some of us do, myself included early on, is that I would help develop skills and I'd help develop character. And it was just far too much work to help develop character. Okay. I'm in a position now, we don't even check the clock in, clock out times for 14 employees because we understand that all of them were locked in. And that's how you could do it. So we're going to leverage character, because when you leverage character, half the work's already done. You're mostly just focusing on skill. So when we get that through the hiring process, the next step, and this is the big one most people miss, is an internal form. Now, I use JotForm for this. It's a great app that helps you organize questions and answers. And this form vets out the individuals that made it through the first step. And on this form, we have skill and character questions. One of my favorite questions on it, this is a big one. What have you learned recently? And you would be surprised how many people give us a few different variations of answers. Number one, why is this important is the answer. Number two, I've learned nothing recently. And number three, I get a guy who says, yeah, I learned how to rewire something in my attic because it was broken and I couldn't get an electrician out on time. It actually winded up working and I solved my problem. Wow, which one are we going to pick? So these are just unique questions that really, again, filter out the applicants. So if we started with an applicant pool of 50 and the questionnaires, might dilute that down to 10. And I'll tell you why the other 40 didn't get in, because 25 of them didn't even fill it out. Once they saw that there was some friction, once they saw that there was some work to do, once they saw they had to fill something out, they said, you know what? I don't even care. Okay. Well, how are they going to handle it when they become a project manager and every single day they need to fill out a form with their end of day report? Okay. So again, these are indicators, and these indicators filter out individuals that are not going to fit the mold. So then we get to a point where those last 15 fill it out. And from that point, we might say, okay, 10 of them sound really good. Now, from that 10, that pool of 10, we look at their answers, we think about them, and we start doing phone interviews. The phone interviews are revealing. I mean, at the end of the day, I want you to compare what I'm doing and what you're doing. And if what you're doing is nothing like this, that's because that's why you're getting random results. So if you're trying to build an employee-based kingdom business, you got to make sure the individuals in that business are of high quality, of high standard, recognize the value you provide. If you're watching this, clearly you're a high-level business owner. So I know that for a fact. But the systems in your business might tell a different story, and it might be deterring individuals of high quality from working with you because you failed to put together the right system. And we're going to solve that. And I outline this entire process in the 31 Days of Value book. You can grab this on Amazon. It highlights every single step that I'm covering in great detail. Phone interview. Phone interview is revealing. Were you ready on time? What do you sound like on the phone? Do you sound excited or you sound like you just woke up, right? These are indicators, and our team is trained on this. And ultimately, once that phone interview is done, we're going based off a feeling of whether or not we want to meet this person in person. And we're doing that in-person interview. And that in-person interview is, once again, another filtering out process. And then we're doing a background check. And then we're doing a working interview. Now, you might say, Tanner, that's pretty extensive. It works. I have nothing else to say other than it works. Follow the process, okay? Now, one thing to mention, when I was younger and I first got my first job at that sushi restaurant, now listen, he didn't do things the right way, and I learned a lot from him, but I needed the job. And one of the things he did really well was create a lot of friction in the hiring process. In other words, when I went there and I walked in and I was 17 years old, making $7 an hour at a different restaurant, and I heard that servers make good money there, I said, I'd like a job. And what he did is he handed me a sushi menu. It was about this big. It was the to-go menu. And it was a 3-page pamphlet of words that I've never heard in my life. I've never eaten sushi. Okay. We didn't grow up with the silver spoon. Okay. There was no sushi flowing around my house, or we didn't go to any sushi restaurants. Okay. So I didn't know anything about sushi. He gave me the menu. He said, come back when you know it. Come back when I know it. Do you know how many people I've seen when I got the job that he would give that menu to, and they never came back because it was too hard? But I remember when I was in my senior year of high school, I knew that college wasn't going to be my golden goose. I needed to make money. And I remember sitting in class. I used to have my phone here, and I used to use a flashcard app. I think it was called something Blue Flash. I don't know what it was, but I put all the sushi names and definitions in there, and I would just hit it all day long, just memorizing the menu. Boom, boom, boom. And I would do this for 2 weeks, nonstop, night and day. And I went in there and I said, I'm ready. And you know what the test was? The owner sitting across from me, nothing there, just saying, tell me what's in this roll. Tell me what's in this meal. Tell me what's in this roll. And I nailed it. Okay. Got the job on the spot. And that to me showed me, wow. Okay. That is step one of getting the job, is creating friction. All right. So A lot of wisdom came from working for that guy. With that said, the friction matters. And I turned out to be their best employee. I was the head server. And then he hired me to be a manager at his sister restaurant. And that was kind of the start of my business journey. And it was because of the work I put in early on. And you never know who stands out in the hiring process, because we want, I tell my team all the time, we don't want painters. We want managers. Okay. We want managers. And the hiring process should be, when I look at someone, do I see a future manager in you? Because if you can create your own managers in business, you have an unfair advantage. It's very hard to hire managers, and they're very expensive because they've already learned their skills somewhere else, and they're pretty much taking what they've learned and bringing it into your business. There's a time and a place for that. If there's a certain threshold you can't hit and you need knowledge, experience, intuition, and leadership, you got to buy that. But you might not have that ability early on when you're hitting your first, second, third, and fourth crew. So you need to be able to develop managers from the beginning. And what that does is it creates loyalty. And all that starts from the foundation of the agreement, which is the hiring process. Quick story. I had someone that I've worked with for many years, and he always used to send me people that he would think would be a good fit. Guy's got a great heart. Always sent me someone. He's like, oh, I know this guy, and I met this guy, and he's always trying to find an opportunity for someone. I love him for it. But he knew. I said, send them the link. See if they fill it out. And we would always laugh about it because I check in with them and say, hey, did your buddy fill out the link? And he's like, oh, man, I don't know what's up with that dude. And he didn't understand it, but I understood it. I'm like, man, like if they can't handle a little bit of friction, then they're not a good fit. So I'm going to end this here. I think the two things I want you to focus on after watching this is, number one, are your provisions in place to be able to harbor the right applicants once you get them? So that's like an expectation mindset. And you got to have that in business. You got to build your well before you're thirsty. Okay. So set up your provisions. And then second, dial in that hiring process. Be strict. It's like a diet. You got to be strict to it because the hiring process is going to produce you a consistent result. Now, your job is to tweak it, but you at least have something to tweak. Right now, hey, come meet me at a job, or hey, let's just meet at Starbucks. You're wasting your time, number one. And number two, you can't repeat that result. So that's what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if you noticed, I got some Routimize gear going on today. So we're super excited about Routimize. If you don't know what Routimize is, it is a instant booking route optimized tool that's going to help you organize your schedule in real time. So if a customer comes into your world and tries to book an appointment, it's going to look at your existing schedule and offer that customer the perfect slot based on where you're already going to be. So it's an absolute game changer. We're super excited about it. So check it out at routimize.com. And then last, make sure you grab the 31 Days of Value book. Everything that I talked about in this video is inside of here for you to take notes, digest, review, and implement. So we'll catch you on the next video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.